Welcome back to One Hell of a Night. Today's episode will be focusing on letting go. And not letting go in the sense of if you love me, let me go. No. Um more so in the idea of letting go of your work. A lot of times, a lot of artists I run into refuse to actually make their presence known. Um, Obviously, I struggle with this too, but it's like if you make something, you should put it out. Why are you holding on to it? Um, let go. That song you made, put it out. That piece of art you made, show it off. If you design something as a fashion piece, make it, wear it, put it out there. It is becoming so common to kind of be too cool to really care. And I think putting it out there is caring at its highest degree. It kind of goes back to that whole idea of if you really love it, you'll let it go. Because you know, art is meant to be shared with the world, and you really need to be able to kind of conquer that fear. It goes back to, I forget which episode this was in, but we talked about doubt. You know, doubt really kills. And another thing is, along with doubt, it's the fear of being judged. We talked about blocking out your haters. We talked about, being yourself. But you need to stop worrying about being judged because that's what's keeping you from putting things out there. And putting things out there is such a freeing feeling. You know, I still realistically put my music out there to maybe 200 virtual listeners that I've never met in my life. 30 of the people that listen to my music, probably even less, I could be like, oh yeah, I know them. Everyone else is just another face in the crowd, which is kind of horrifying. I'll never know those people. Should I make an effort? Yes. And I try every day. But without those people, it's like if I was too scared to put my work out and I just hoarded it all for myself, like a dragon, um, like the Rick and Morty dragon, the one that has what's it called? Future's self-titled album signed and Molly and Perks. If anyone gets that reference, they'll know what I'm talking about. But why are you hoarding it all for yourself, Share that creativity. You never know who you can inspire from your work, right? There is like the possibility of a ripple effect from you sharing your work is so crazy, and you really need to just do it. Don't be so afraid. Take those first steps. Even if it's not first steps, even if you're super far along your career and you're just like scared to put out your work, you just have to do it. You know, um, there's obviously there's so many moving parts behind that decision. Just speaking from personal experience, for the longest time, I want to say when I was making music before my first album, before my first project, before the stuff that you can easily access, um, I would sit down and I would just be like, if I post this and if I post about it online, what will people think of me? And now I realize it was foolish of me to care. You know, you can't not care. The coolest thing you could do is care. I know there's like this whole wave of like, I gotta be nonchalant. That's so boring. And it goes back to the whole thing of like, you have to be yourself. You have to accept yourself and you have to accept what you care about. I care about my work. So obviously, I'm gonna treat it like that. I care about my work, which is why I post about it every day. I care about my work, which is why I created this series. I realized that there are too many people out there who are too afraid to put their stuff out or just like hoarding it. You gotta let it go. You know, life is about flow. Something comes to you, something goes, something comes, something goes. A lot comes, a lot goes. You know, there's always a type of flow. And art is part of that flow. You will get an idea. If you don't use it, it'll flow out of you. If you use it, you have to also let it go. Obviously, like, not everyone believes in, like, the whole, like, vibrations and all that, or, like, understanding that art kind of taps into whatever you want to call it. Everyone has a different name for it. But, like, art helps you tap into something, you know? At the end of the day, it's a way of communication. But either way, even like I want to go back to that because I just said art is a form of communication. You can tell these are really unscripted, but that's the fun of it. Um, art is a form of communication. We were talking about flows. Communication is a flow. Someone gives you something, you think about it, you send something their way, right? Paintings. The world is giving you all these experiences and all this perspective. You paint something, you put it out there, and you're giving it back to the world. You're basically holding up a mirror in a sense. But there are flows. The world will, like, let's give you an example. Boom, idea comes to you, and it's communication. So art is coming at you. These perspectives, these experiences, boom, they're in your brain. You're like, oh, A minor, C sharp. Okay, boom, song. You take that song and you don't hold on to it. You put it out there. Then, once you put it out there, people are going to react to it. And then people are going to send you stuff. And then you're going to be like, oh my God. People are actually either agreeing with my experiences, they understand where I'm coming from, or they're moving with it. Like it does something to them, and then that, everything has an equal and opposite action reaction. So, you just got to put stuff out there. And if you think it's not good enough, still put it out there. Um, you just got to keep going. Don Tolliver recorded his first song on, like, I think he said a PS3 webcam. What's stopping you? Like, he had to let go of that art. He had to put it out there. Because if you don't put it out there, it's just gonna die. If your work was a person, it's the equivalent of not giving that thing food. You just hold it hostage. Your work will thrive once you let it go. Constantly worrying about it, constantly checking in on it, constantly doing all these things kills your work. You need to when they say let the work speak for itself, this is what they mean. Not that, oh, put it out there and people will come. No. They mean You need to give the work space, you need to put it out there so that it can breathe and be a living piece. I mean, whether you disagree or agree, music is alive. It captures time. You know, if I sing about something, it's how I'm feeling in that time or how I was feeling prior to that time. Just boop, it's a time capsule. And, it's like, I can't stress it enough. I've spent 11 minutes talking about this. You need to let it go. Hoarding it will hurt you. It's like holding on to memories. You know, it's it's detrimental cuz your work is an extension of you. And if you're not going to let yourself thrive, I think we found the issue. Now, obviously there is a difference between like stuff that isn't ready to go out yet, but it has to go out. You know what I mean? It's just you gotta just let it go. There's nothing more to it. Um yeah, thank you for tuning in. I will see you next time, and make sure to let go. Make sure to put stuff out there. Keep on going. Keep on trucking.